Okay, hello again. It's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson, and we're back for the second half of our incredible uh, lesson about substitute chords. And we're using the great Christmas classic, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. We didn't have enough time to go through it all last time, but we're going to finish it up today, and then who knows what we'll talk about. We'll talk about other stuff, but I hope everyone had a great Christmas in any event. We were talking about also the bass line, the counterpoint, counter meaning opposite, having a melody using voice leading. So we're taking the basic chords where we're kind of fleshing out a alternative harmony. So rather than playing the A minor chord for two counts, we only play it for one count, and the first count of what would have been, or excuse me, we're just playing the A minor for one count. We're just playing the C for one count. Count 2, we're playing the E chord. Count 4, we're playing the A7 chord. So each beat is getting a harmony, and that's a really nice thing to do on the piano. So the bass line, C, E, A, or rather C, E, A, and then I'm staying on the A in the bass, and then D, G. Now I have another option. Why not play the E in an inversion? B is in the bass, so maybe I could put B in the bass. That would work. Okay, that's an inversion. Or I could do, and then I don't know why I would want an inversion here necessarily. It doesn't really sound very good, I don't think. I don't think it sounds very good either. I kind of like staying on the A. So I would say the A to get to the D. Now here's another option. Anytime, remember, I'm going to erase this. Anytime you have a dominant chord, right? The word is substitute. You can replace that dominant chord with another dominant chord, and that dominant chord, a tritone, 3 whole steps away. So a substitute for E7. If you go up 3 whole steps, three notes in the G major scale: E, F sharp, G sharp. 4 notes in the scale, because that would be the tritone. A, and then up a half step. 3 whole steps. All right. E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat. Let's use the word B flat. I think it's a little friendlier. So these have a tritone relationship. So instead of C, E, A, I could play C, B flat, A, and that sounds good. That's very possible. Now, one interesting thing, again, the melody. C, E, G, all notes of the C chord, where we're just changing the bass notes. And all those melody notes happen to be parts of the notes of the chord. But when I do this, C, E, when I play the B flat in the bass, there's no E in a B flat chord. However, if in jazz there is. So B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, E natural. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, sharp 11. Sharp 11. That would be a Lydian sound. Lydian, you could think of a Lydian scale, B flat Lydian. You're using the notes of the F major scale. Right? But you're starting on the 4th note. That's Lydian. Another way to understand Lydian, and which I prefer, is to look at it as 2 tetrachords. Commonly, the tetrachords that we use are bound by perfect fourths. In this instance, this would be bound by a augmented fourth, and that's the tritone and the major. Right? There's 2 modes that use that augmented or the tritone tetrachord, and the Lydian is one of them. What was the other one? Would be the what was the other one here? The Locrian, one. So Locrian meaning 7. So B flat or A sharp is the 7th note of what scale? It would be the 7th note of B. Here's B flat major. But if I started the scale on the 7th note, so you have a that's a Phrygian tetrachord. It's still bound by the perfect 4th, and then the augmented tetrachord. Now there's 4 tetrachord groups that are bound by perfect 4ths. There's major, minor, there's Phrygian, and harmonic. Right? I just changed the 2 middle notes there. So of those 4, the lower part in the Locrian is that sound. But yes, I digress again. So C, B flat, A. Now what do we do here? Well, we could play A7, we could stay on the A, or we could use the tritone substitution for the A7. What would be the tritone substitution for the A7? Well, again, if you go up 3 whole steps, 1 whole step, A to B, B to C sharp to D sharp, or let's call it E flat. That is the tritone substitution. So C, B flat, and I'm doing that nice descending based on the counterpoint. If you stay close together, that's nicer than if you're just kind of jumping all over the place. And then here's your E flat. Now that's a cool chord. What is that? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That B in the melody. Because I have it, the 7th there, that's the 13, and I'm using a 9th. That's a real jazz chord. So E flat 7 with an added 9th and a 13, but the 13 is the C. So it's have yourself a merry little Christmas. So now you got several ways to do the same thing. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. That's the classical way. Okay, let's say that. Then you have yourself a merry little Christmas. Staying on that A kind of dynamically, it kind of releases the tension a bit, doesn't it? But if you don't do that, if you go, have yourself a, almost like a question sound, merry little Christmas. If you add that E flat in there, boy, that really kind of juices it up for a second. It's like, what? Now, if you do it like this, instead of using the E in the bass, you use the B flat. Have yourself a, that using 2 tritone substitutions. Have tritone substitution yourself. Now I could, I suppose, that sounds different too. That whole thing there, you could very easily do some type of, diatonic chords. I'm just very rough. That's just not exactly what I would do, but D minor, E7, or that'd be kind of a gospel-y thing. That's D, E7, F major 7, F sharp diminished, or D7, suspension. See all the possibilities that exist. Now, when I go back to play the next phrase, I really don't want to go back to the C again. Why don't I want to go back to C again? Because I like jazz. No, it's because even in classical music, it would create some variety. If you keep going back to the same chord over and over and over and over again, it can become just mind-numbingly boring. Although I don't really want to use the word boring, but it is sedate, let's say. But there are reasons why you'd want to do that. I mean, in some cases, you want that feeling of stability and continuity and dignity in a way. So you could do that. But how about ending up on an inversion on the E instead of, so you do da dee, or I'll do it simply. Da, 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 da. Now, da, 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 da. So what did I do there? G, F sharp, F, E. That's a chromatic descending line, and I, rather than playing C in root position, now I'm playing C with E in the bass. Again, this is all counterpoint. So I'm going back to the simple chords: C, A minor, D, and I'm using triplets too. I'm changing the rhythm. One. I could keep the E in the bass. So I could play the A minor a little differently this time. So I'm playing the C with E in the bass. I'm playing the A minor also with E in the bass. I could keep that the same way. And I kind of think I would want to do that. I would, at the very least, the first time it could be on C, and the second time, and the third time very interesting compositionally. First time, second time, third time, watch, an inversion. It's so beautiful. It's such a simple melody. You know, it's just, again, that's why we learn to do the arpeggios on the piano, right? That is the basic stuff of music. So first time is C, E, G, C, right? The second time it's E, G, or the third time really. The first two times it's this, but the third time it's E, G, C, E, right? That's our third time. So the first two times we could have C with E in the bass. Then we could have C with, C. We just plain old C. C with E in the bass. And over here we could have C with G in the bass. And it sounds like this. I mean, that's a pretty glorious kind of sound. Very different than, very, very different. So first time, second time, keep on the G. Now, there are other things I can do here. Of course, there are other things I can do, but I could also potentially start the song with an inversion, maybe. And then, now I might do that. Here's an idea. This is how you practice. You just try out stuff, okay? You just see what you like. But here's an idea. The first time I play the tune, because that theme is used when you play out. The first time I could start second inversion, first inversion, root position, and then the last time I could reverse it. I could go root position, first inversion, second inversion. So again, there's some variety. It sounds different, and that progression in the bass, that counterpoint in the bass, really does suggest a different emotional impact on the listener, and people appreciate stuff like that. And it's not that hard, it really isn't. You just have to want to be curious and listen and see what it's like. And it's fun to be able to kind of shift gears in the middle of your playing and just decide you're going to go one way or another. If you're playing with a bass player, well, the bass player is going to probably do that. You might want to discuss that in advance or not, and the bass player might just do that anyway, and you would kind of maybe try to keep out of their way, or maybe not. Maybe they would just follow you. They would just follow your left hand. They would have to be aware of what you're doing and hopefully make their best effort to try to make sure that you're listen and watch. You see bass players looking over at the piano player in the left hand, and I always say my all-time favorite piano player, Earl Garner. I mean, he didn't write music or read music, or his musicians didn't get any music, so they just had to hope for the best and listen and Okay, so we have a whole bunch of opportunities. Stay on the E. I'm playing B flat on the right hand, B flat 7, and E natural in the bass. Now, you could think of that as an inversion. It's kind of the same chord though, because they're tritone relationships. You could think of B flat 7 with E in the bass. That's B flat 7 sharp 11. Okay, you could think of that as like that, or you could think of it as E7 with B flat in the bass. I mean, here's E flat 7. When we did this, that's E major. That's B flat. That's interesting. This is an E major chord. And B flat in the bass. That's a little different than this. That's the C natural. That's the ninth in the chord. Let your, as opposed to let your heart know. Now that's a minor major chord. That's kind of interesting to hear that sound. But when I hear this, I kind of want that dissonance. I don't know. The melody is G. I'm not exactly sure, but that's not alternative. So we were doing. That's the E7. And we're going from G. From. Now watch this. So third time. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Here's some chords. From second inversion C. Now we're going to the A minor. That's the garden variety that you'll see in the sheet music. But we're going again, just like we did before, we're going to the key of A minor, going to the 6th chord. We do that 3 times. First time, A minor. Second time, A minor. See, already that can be boring. I mean, it's good composition because it's reiterates what you heard before, but it can potentially be dull. And third time, A minor. See, A minor is always on count 2. Let's change that a bit, and let's put it on count. A minor is typically count 3 rather. Let's change that. Let's put A minor on count 4, and it's going to go E, G, C, E. I'm going to put A minor over here. That is displaced, Placed, and it's a RHYTHMIC. It's a rhythmically displaced. All right, that's the A minor. That's all right. Rather than count 3, which would be over here. These are quarter notes, right? Okay. Here's your C with G in the bass. And again, how do we get to E? Well, how do we get to A? We need the 5 chord. The 5 chord is E7. So we can go we can go that's E7, sharp 9. That would be to leave the A minor chord on count 3. 1, 5 of 6. That sounds interesting. We did that before at the beginning. Have yourself, right? The difference here is that this note is not in the E chord. That's F double sharp. That's a sharp 9. Now, but we want it on count 4. So it's, how do we do that? Well, anytime you see a dominant chord, you can presume that it's functioning as a 5 chord, whatever key you're in. And you can precede that chord with the 2 chord of whatever key that you're going to. So what you have to do is you have to play that dominant chord for half the amount of time. What is the 2 chord in the key of A? Well, the 2 chord in any key of A is always going to be some kind of a B chord, A, B, right? In the case of A major, it's B minor 7. In the case of B minor, it is, in the case of A minor, it is not B minor 7, it is B minor 7 flat 5. Why is that? It's a really critical concept in music to understand. It is because the notes in a major scale are different than the notes in a minor scale. So naturally, the chords that would be derived from each of those scales are going to be different potentially because the notes are different, right? Now, what is the one common thing that every major and minor key has? Well, the dominant chord is always the same. It's always a dominant 7. So in the key of A minor or in the key of A major, the 5 chord's always E7. Always, 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 always. Now, in the major instance, it's diatonic. There happens to be a G sharp in the key. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, 1, 5, 1. That's your diatonic chord, your primary chords, right? But in the minor key, the relative minor, or the parallel minor, parallel meaning that we're starting on the same note, we're using the harmonic minor scale, right? The G sharp, and that is an artificial scale. The G sharp is not in the key signature. It's written as an accidental, but that's why it's in there. So we can go 1, 5, 1, all right? The 1 chord, A, C, E. The 2 chord, B, D, F, right? Not B, D, F sharp, which would be in the major key. That's why the 2 chords are different. You got to know that. The 2 chord in a major key is minor 7. The 2 chord in a minor key is minor 7 flat 5. Now, I just played a triad right now, okay? So the triad, the 3-note chord, the basic triad in a major key is B, D, F sharp, B minor. In the minor key, it's B, D, F natural. That's the main difference. Again, because the notes in the scales are different. If I'm going to skip up one more note, B, D, F, A, all right? That's B minor 7 flat 5. Why flat 5? Because the fifth note in the key of B, it's getting confusing. The 5th note in the key of B is F sharp, and we're lowering that a half step. Whereas it would be B minor 7 in the major key. So we're thinking of 2 things. We're thinking of, we're measuring the distance of the chords from the root. So A is 1, B is 2, okay? Then we're also measuring the distance of the intervals in the chord, right? That's from the root of the chord note, that is B, all right? That's why you have to kind of think in 2 ways. You have to think in this isolated environment of the root of the chord, B, right? So 5 is B, C, D, E, F. Any kind of F is a 5, right? And then we're thinking again in the larger context, how does the chord fit in like a puzzle piece in a puzzle? How does it fit in the larger context of the key of A? Well, B is the 2nd chord, okay? So you got to put the puzzle piece in. How does this stuff sound? All right, here's how it sounds. B minor 7 flat 5, E7 sharp 5, A minor. That's how it would sound. Then D minor. So I am delaying the A minor chord, and that can help a lot in terms of, again, creating some variety and some drama in the whole piece itself. There's some wiggle room you got in there. There's some plasticity, and that's why some of these pieces, we've heard them a million times before, and there's a comfort in that, especially if you've loaded on a bucket of eggnog. But that way, people can sing together. But these are great pieces of music, and they lend themselves to open-mindedness. That's the jazz element. Just all jazz, to me, jazz has a lot of different definitions, but the one main definition is just a broad-mindedness. That's really all. Yeah, you could say jazz is music from the early part of the 20th century, or jazz is Charlie Parker and bebop. You can't really separate that period of music from jazz. That would be terrible. Or jazz is the Great American Songbook, so songs that are written by George Gershwin and Duke Ellington and Cole Porter and Irving Berlin. That's jazz, okay? Or jazz is the blues, really, because jazz has its origins in the blues. And the blues, my explanation of the blues is that you play in the cracks. It's not major or minor exclusively. There's an ambiguity. There's this. It's not this or this. It's kind of in there, And to me, that's the African element of it. But this whole idea. So I'm going to play the whole thing now. All right, newfangled arrangement. I'm going to start with the inversion. I'll start with C. Wait. Instead of E, A, D, G, again, we can use our tritones. E, instead of A7, the tritone substitution, E flat 7, D. Instead of G7, we use the D flat. Ooh, isn't that good? Ooh, that's delicious. Now, second time, instead of starting on the C, now, here's what's interesting. I'm just kind of winging this, but second time I started with the inversion. I started with the second inversion, okay? And the second chord, the second possible substitution, is either B flat 7 or E7. In either case, you could have B in the bass, and then I could have a pedal tone. Pedal tone meaning that the note on the bottom of the piano is sustained. Why do they call it a pedal tone? Well, they're not really referring to the piano. They're referring to the organ. Oh, and once again, I must go. I'm over time, but I will finish this at another time. But yeah, organs have pedals that you play notes with your feet, low notes. Okay, take care, and Happy New Year. We didn't get to Auld Lang Syne too much, but you kind of know the drill, right? All acquaintance be forgot and never brought to my mind. Should all acquaintance be forgot and things of Auld Lang Syne. See ya.